And welcome to the Hot Lap, where we are talking rally. And is golf better than rally? Okay, two things completely different to each other, but on a really interesting article on rallyjournal.com, where there are, let's say, harsh words from M Sport Ford team principal Richard Milner. I may have got that last name wrong, but the article is by Tony Heinonen on rally, and they're talking about the future regulations for the Rally 1 cars, and as we know, they are set to be finalised in June. Now, at the same time, there's also this discussion about how the format and the marketing of these WRC events could be revamped to attract a larger audience. Imagine, if you will, Group B rally fame, Group B rally crowds cheering on the Colin McRae and the Subaru equivalent. I mean, that would be amazing. That's when rally, you can make an argument, was at its peak in terms of popularity. Like, for example, the heavyweight boxer, everyone pretty much knew who the rally champion was back in the mid-90s to the late 90s to the early 2000s. Now, Richard Milner, he's M Sport's team principal, and he's agreeing with other team bosses regarding what these technical regulations, and he's suggesting it's pointless to make radical changes for 2025 and 2026, as these new teams cannot be attracted to the series in what is such a short time frame. Instead, he's suggesting that the focus should be on the 2027 regulations, and according to Milner, there is a more realistic option for getting more cars to rally. As he's saying, and it does make sense, to be fair, a couple of years for that development. He also believes that the cost of the cars, as we've often said here, needs to be controlled. They definitely need to be lower. This is easier said than done, however, the article says. But the team principal says, if my team has more money than somebody else, then always spend more money on the car. Milner asks a broader perspective on the issue, saying, for me, the question is, why don't we have more cars? And it's because they don't see the value in the sport at the moment, because it's not global enough, it's not seen enough, he says. And that's what he's told rallyjournal.com. The interesting thing, before we go into that, is, yes, they don't have it's not as popular as it once was. But I don't think it's solely because the reason they don't have more cars is because it's not global enough. It's because it's too expensive. One reason, once again, they introduced the hybrid, really, really expensive. I compare it once again to BTCC, where they've lost a good, at least quarter to maybe a third of the grid. They're down to around 20 cars now. It's just as entertaining, but the hybrid has made it really expensive. That's one of the other reasons why. So cost is bad. It is a global sport. And he goes on to say, we actually have so much footage. We have every stage live. He's saying, which is, I completely agree. He's saying, which is incredible. We don't seem to be using it in a way that's good at the moment. If you don't change, he's saying, you get left behind. Now, the key players in the WRC, he's saying, need to take action. They need to keep the sport evolving and moving forward. You can look at Formula One, and that's kind of what they've done in some ways. And we're going to compare that to rally and this article here. And obviously golf. And this is where he cites golf as an example. And golf has managed to grow its fan base really successfully. I mean, you have golf shops still popping up and doing good business. And he said, I like watching golf. It's so different from when it was 10 years ago. He said the Ryder Cup 10 years ago was a very posh, gentleman's kind of event. It was all golf with very quiet clapping. And now it's an absolute party. Think Happy Gilmore. So the DNA is still there, he says. But everything about it is so different when referring to golf. Now, he talks about the rally. If you think about it, it's a similar sport to rally, comparing golf to rally. Golf is a long sport. It goes on over 3 days. Its matches take 4 hours. They're not overly exciting to watch unless you're really into golf and appreciate how good they are. But there's still a huge buzz about it. He said golf is more in the news than rally. Yes, it is. And if you look on paper, he's saying it's not as exciting as rally. So it's more in the news as rally. It's more popular than rally, but I digress. And this is where I definitely, he makes a really good point. But I really agree that I think you all will. Anyone who's watching this video right now will agree with me and the M Sport boss. It is not as exciting as rally. And he says, so we need to come up with some ideas to bring that forward and change it dramatically. He says some people won't like that, but if you don't change, you get left behind. And I think we're getting left behind at the moment. He carries on saying the popularity of golf has been further increased by the documentary series on Netflix, which which tells the story of the PGA Tour, and more importantly, its personalities. And he talks about Formula One series, Drive to Survive, the Netflix series, and once again, it's the personalities that sell that. Yes, it's really cool to get the behind the scenes stuff, but it's the personalities, it's the drivers we are going to care about. Yeah, we care about the teams, we care about the cool liveries, but it's the drivers in the teams, the personalities within the teams, the engineers within those teams, the team principals within the teams, that if they did a Drive to Survive, a double, like, WRC-esque, then I think Rally will pick up. They did it in NASCAR and that's picked up, and they've kind of done it in IndyCar as well. And IndyCar does appear to be popular, even more popular over here. I've noticed on Facebook. I haven't really looked at the TV numbers, but in terms of social media, I feel that more people are talking about it. So, Formula One, he said, has its own Netflix series, which had a huge success right from that first season. The WRC promoter announced in April that they also had discussions about such a series to be released on a streaming service, but the matter has not been progressed, and maybe that's something that they potentially need to do it. And it's been hinted at by the WRC promoter. They have been negotiating with Netflix, and this was once again an article in May. The WRC's bigger sibling, the FIA-governed Formula One, as we know, hit that bullseye. Since then, we've had 6 seasons of Drive to Survive. The WRC is currently seeking a new direction, and they've admitted that this Drive to Survive is a watershed moment, and it's opening it up to new audiences. The series about MotoGP, though not as successful as they wanted, still, they've invested in it, like Drive to Survive MotoGP, and they've pitched, they said, we get pitched 10 times a year by someone who says they can produce the next Drive to Survive for us. Unless you have that product placement on Netflix, Amazon, or something similar, no one's going to watch it. But according to Larkin, the rally boss, discussions with Netflix have progressed, but one significant obstacle remains. He said financial reasons from either side. And he cites Drive to Survive numbers are softening, so the willingness from a platform or from us to invest in something like that may not yield the desired result. It's also softening a bit, I would say. If you want to do this right, these things are very expensive. You could make an argument that Simon Larkin has missed almost not quite the point there, but they have WRC completely missed the window. Maybe, potentially. And last but not least, I want to read a comment from Chris, as you may know, from Rally Info, who commented, and I think it's a really interesting point he made on one of the comments when our previous rally video, about 6 days ago, when Cyril was basically lambasting the potential rally car for 2025. And he said he's looking at he's come up with 2 scenarios, on everyone. From the short term, he says at 25-26 we have a problem. It's so-called catch-22. He says scenario 1, the manufacturers are right. The downgraded Rally 1 cars, as the manufacturer is saying, will be boring. But he thinks not boring at all, but also not the spectacle they were now. It could even be Rally 2 Plus, he's suggesting, with the large restrictor sounds more exciting and spectacular than Rally 1. And yes, that is a problem, but only until 2027. And he says scenario 2, they keep Rally 1 as they are, but it's another 2 years of only Toyota versus Hyundai with, I think with maybe a bit of M Sport, but he said the third car likely still part-time drivers, so 2 mates and 4 drivers, and sorry, that's boring too. He says he thinks in a way 25 and 26 are going to be boring, and we have to sacrifice these seasons to get back on track for 2027. And he says, interestingly, what I hear Lancia, he said, could come to 2027, the earliest, but not with a Rally 1 car, but also not to come, they're not there to come second, are they? So what do we do now? He's suggesting his scenario 2. Everybody starting from 0 would make it easier for new mates to join. But yes, 25 and 26 are going to be boring. Scenario 1 would actually, though, make 25 and 26 more interesting. Yes, the Rally 1 cars, he's saying, are going to be worse if that goes ahead. And Toyota and Hyundai not going to like being challenged by essentially what you've got Rally 2 Plus. But it only takes 2 drivers, 2 mates and 4 drivers for the next 2 years. So who's going to watch? And I kind of agree with him there in terms of the scenarios. I want it exciting now, not wait for 2 years and maybe watch the audience decline. Maybe a compromise is best, but I think we can all agree that absolutely something needs to be done, because as the M Sport boss says, more people talk about golf than rally. And as a motorsport fan and as a rally fan, no. People should not be talking more about golf than rally. Rally is far more exciting, far more stunning, Golf, yeah, it is. It's all right, but it's not rallying, is it? No way. Anyway, if you made it to the end, please give us a subscribe. That'll be absolutely fantastic. And we'll speak to you soon. Stay tuned here for all your rally news, your F1 news, your touring car news. We got to play a couple of games as well. And also the Indy 500 this weekend. Hopefully we're going to be talking about that as well. Thank you very much. And as I said, speak to you soon.